All right, what do you got?
NTR is good if you didn't try to self-insert yourself as any of the characters and treat it as an 18-plus drama series. The boys actually like NTR based on your comments on every hentai special.
Whoa. What the fuck?
All of you often misunderstood what it meant.
That is defamation.
Okay. First of all, what the hell do you mean based on our comments we like it? When have we ever, what the fuck?
We've been pretty vocal about not liking NTR over this podcast.
No,
Yes.
there's no world where I want to see like the hot woman be railed by like the most vile looking 60-year-old man who's like a gross human being.
I'm just not into it. I'm
No,
sorry.
there's no, I don't, what do you misunderstand? What am I trying
Also,
are you not jacking off?
Yeah,
What?
also the assumption that, you know, when we watch an NTR, we're like, I'm going to self-insert. It's like, no, I've never done that. Have you ever self-inserted yourself into an NTR?
What do you mean?
Wait.
Like
So
when
wait,
you
wait,
watch
wait,
it-
Do you
wait,
self-insert yourself into...
When you watch an NTR, right?
Uh-huh.
And you see like the guy who's committing...
when you watch like a porn you like, you're like imagining like, if that was me, that's hot.
Yeah, that's the self-insert,
But
right?
you don't obviously you wouldn't. Yeah, but that's why I don't like it, because obviously, you know, when you watch stuff like that, I'm thinking, oh man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like that's a terrible human being. I don't want to self-insert myself into a terrible human being.
I don't want to be this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy is everything I don't want to be.
So like, first of all, the assumption that we even do a self-insert during an NTR, like I just don't like, and all of us don't like the idea of NTR.
Yeah, I think this person... I think he half-cooked, because I like NTR in like a drama
like
series.
a comedy sense, like
Not a comedy sense.
some of them are funny.
Some of them are fun.
Some of them are hilarious.
When that kid walked in on his best friend railing his mom, that was kind of funny. I know that's not technically an NTR, but they had all the clippings of one.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes NTR in like TV series or something like that spices things up.
You should just say you like Domestic Girlfriend.
It's not even Domestic Girlfriend. It's just like, you know, any fucking love triangle or any kind of like...
I guess that's my problem, is that it doesn't feel like a love triangle. It feels more like a sexual assault speed run.
No, did you have you ever watched what's the closest thing okay, so the problem I have with this take is that unfortunately my main purpose of watching hentai is not to appreciate a fucking drama series.
Yeah.
You know, that is...
If I wanted to do that, I'd watch a drama series.
Yes. But, you know, you take that formula, put it in a drama series, and you're like, yo, give me the tea. Yo, she did what? This person cheated on that person and he fucking knew about it? Okay, that's just some fucking Desperate Housewives shit or something or something like that.
You
You know?
should watch the Desperate Housewives in hentai form.
I don't actually. Sydney's been watching. I came to Michael. Sydney started watching Desperate Housewives. I don't know why. I don't fucking know why.
Man, Sydney really watches
really
garbage.
Desperate Housewives.
But I just love. I find it funny not just because of like the spice that comes with it, but just seeing people's reaction. Like, did any of you guys watch Darling in the Franxx at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the community reaction of whenever that girl got rejected, or whenever fucking the REM moment in ReZero, I find fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah,
you know,
same.
That's funny.
That's funny.
That is funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. In my hentai, no.
Yeah, I'm not as attached to these characters, so like, it's like whatever.
Also, there's not normally a ugly bastard in my drama series. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, ReZero would have been really different if Subaru was an ugly bastard. You know?
Can you imagine? Can you actually imagine?
I actually really want to see that now. That would be so good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you know, bottom line is we don't like NTR, period.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. There's no other way of saying that. All right, what do we got?
Very few anime that are older than 10 years old are actually good. And people who think they are good are just nostalgic. Could you imagine in any form of media being like, everything older than 10 years is shit?
That's how long it's been since Joey stopped watching anime.
Yeah.
So he just
Is this your account, Joey?
Yeah, this is my old account.
Well, actually, no, he's saying...
No, it's the
like,
other way around.
Yeah, he's saying
Yes, the other way around.
Barely any anime older than 10 years are good.
Well, that's
What?
I mean, that is obviously an insult.
Could you imagine being like, there are no good films before 2014? There's like 3 good films.
The Godfather, 1, 2, 3.
I think anime has had a very big like shift in the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's changed a lot into what anime I feel like is more known for today. Like the kind of, you know, like a lot of the stuff.
What is it known for today?
Well, I feel
what is it known for today,
anime
Connor?
back then was a little bit more different. You know, you got stuff like Black Lagoon. You got fucking Jormungand. You got shit like that was kind of like, you know, it's a bit edgy. And now I feel like the stuff is edgy, but they still have all the staples that you come to expect from an anime. They have like a cute anime girl that's always there.
But does that come with the fact that because you have already experienced the older shows that had those similar stereotypes, that when you look at these newer shows now, you're just like, oh, I've already seen this before.
I think that like because anime has been very like derivative of itself.
Yes.
And I feel like all the staples of like anime culture that we come to know from anime shows appears a lot more in anime. There's a lot less different types. And I feel like this guy likes that style of anime where it's all like cute girls. It's all basically like, I guess, how Shonen Jump feels the past like 10 years.
Easy to consume.
Yeah, it's very like, you know, you'd never get like a fucking Bokurano made today. You know what I mean?
And if you do, then no one's watching.
I actually disagree with you guys.
No.
I think obviously there is a lot more slop right now, but that's just because there is just a lot more anime being made.
There's some amazing animes still being.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean-
saying it's not, but I feel like on the whole, like a lot more animes that feel very similar and derivative of each other are popping up.
I mean, I would say they started getting derivative around like the early 2000s. I'd say that's
Yeah.
when that's when I would say a lot of the
The light novel era, right?
kind of like the light novel era
Yeah.
where a lot of these tropes and a lot of these, you know, definitely character archetypes fully formed. You know, you
That's
look,
what I feel like this guy likes. Like he's pretty a fan of those archetypes, those tropes being formed.
but I feel like there's way more. There's even more variety now than there is back in the day.
Yeah, but I think that's just out of pure quantity, not
That is out of pure
I
quantity.
feel like if you are making 4 times the amount of shows, you will just have more quantity. But I feel like on a like an average,
But
per
you won't have
basis,
4 times more quality.
Yeah, I think like on a per basis, like we're getting more of the same.
yeah.
But we are getting some absolute bangers. Like,
Yeah,
don't get me
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Like, and I think like this guy is probably more into the culture of what anime is now.
I don't think honestly, I don't think
I'm just assuming.
I don't think the culture of anime from like the last 10 years has changed too much.
I feel like it has.
I think it has.
Really?
I feel like it has a lot.
Joey, why'd you stop watching anime?
Pretty much for that reason that Connor was saying is that like I feel with each new show that would pop up, there were just too many qualities of that show that I've just kind of seen
Yeah,
before.
I feel like there are a lot of shows just cannot exist in a
Yeah.
vacuum. Like
But-
they cannot like.
But I'd argue that, you know, it feels a lot less fresh because when you got into anime, it was fresh.
Yes.
But you know, it's fucking fiction. Everything is like iterative of what came before it.
I feel there are more anime today that have taken direct inspiration from other anime.
Yes.
Whereas when we go back to like the early 2000s, late 90s, I feel that the ideas that were incorporated in anime and manga, a lot more of it felt like there were more outside inspirations.
I also
if that
don't
makes sense.
feel that way with any other medium that I've consumed my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that with gaming. I don't feel like that with film. I don't feel like that with TV show.
Even though I'm
What do you
sure there's a
mean?
lot of games
I
that are
don't
like
feel that like when I watch TV now, or maybe that's because there's just way more. And I think there is just more movies and TV in general and games.
Yeah.
I don't feel that I'm often getting a derivative of something else a lot of the time. Like,
Oh, I mean, yes, you totally are. Games went through this massive like FPS phase where everything was a fucking FPS. Movies are now going through the superhero phase where every other
Yeah, but
big
I feel like
blockbuster
it's
is a fucking
very-
superhero film.
yeah, I guess there is a sense of that. I
Yeah.
just feel like that with anime, there's only ever like 2 or 3 you can turn to a season that really feel different. Whereas movies and games, TV, there's always more.
Yeah, I disagree. I think you know, anime back in the day, there was probably like 2 or 3 shows you can think of per year that you really hold, you know, in high esteem.
Yeah.
And I think that
But I think they were all like way more different, and they were all willing to like do newer ideas. I feel like now there's like less of that. I don't know.
But maybe you feel that way again because you have seen those older shows and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is just
Yeah.
kind of a clone of, or maybe it's just a little bit too similar to that older
like,
show.
Like I feel like the big advantage you have is that you're talking about any anime from like 10 years ago where we have the entirety of that era to judge. But you know, even
don't have the entirety
off
of
the
the
top
series,
of my head, you know, you mentioned Black Lagoon and Jormungand. Well, this era we've had like shit like Cyberpunk Edge Runners. We've had like Odd Taxi.
But
like,
I feel like those, I feel like those aren't very like similar to like the previous ones, I guess. But
yeah. There are. I feel like this generation there are so many great shows
maybe
and
it's
so
the
many
extremes of the sides where I feel like there are so many cool, unique things like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But there is just so much that is so similar.
Oh,
that
there
maybe,
definitely
like,
is.
I feel that like that is very frustrating as a fan.
And I feel like, unfortunately, it is just Sturgeon's law where 90% of everything that comes out is just like shit.
Yeah.
But I feel like we have naturally been able to filter out the shit that came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Whereas now we can see the amount of slop coming out. And I think the biggest thing
there's probably
is
some truth
that
to that.
it's just because there is so much media and shit like that, it's just so much harder to find the good stuff. Just because there is so much stuff to wade through. But I would say right now, I think this is true with like every media, is that, but especially anime, is that because there is so much, before everyone watched the same things, the same critically
The money's different.
the
now.
same critically acclaimed
Production's
things.
different.
And now you have shows that are really, really good just for their niche. And it might not be something that appeals to everyone, but for the niche that it appeals to, there is actually way more choice in that specific niche. Like, you know,
It's just like a very Japan thing in general, though. They love accommodating a niche.
Yes.
yeah,
They love it. I mean, Tokyo is like.
Well, it's because they understand that
Yeah.
like subcultures,
Yeah.
like the fans that are in those subcultures are majority of the time die hard, and they will support anything that fulfills that niche, right? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of anime production companies understand that, and they think, well, this is worth sinking the money into because even though the audience may be small, the audience is going to be there,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way of looking at it. And, you know, for a lot of those kinds of small niches, it has worked, you know, to varying levels of success. But it does also give birth to a lot of shows where you're like, who is this aimed for? Who
Right.
is
Do you
actually
think in
watching
like
this?
10 years we'll look back on like this generation of anime and we'll have like as many like iconic characters to remember as we did in like the generation before?
See,
I
it's
feel like,
hard,
I
right?
feel like someone like Gojo or whatever, well, he'll be around for his iconicness will be
Yeah.
around. But I feel like Demon Slayer, for as big as it was, I don't think we walked away with like feeling any of those characters were iconic. And like the same way I do with like 90s shows, where the characters really felt like they had some energy to them. That
I think it also has to do with the fact that like now this generation, everything is a lot more fast paced, right? Like back in the day, because there is so
be an
much
iconic
coming
character,
out.
you really have to
Yeah.
like have
Whereas
staying
back
power.
then, I feel the bar of entry to be remembered
Yeah.
as one of those like go-to characters was a lot lower because we had
fair.
more time to talk about it because there was less stuff
Yeah.
coming
Yeah,
out.
I feel like the media landscape is just quicker now, just because
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
move so fast. We
Yeah.
move on to the next thing really, really, really
like the
fast.
hype is a lot higher, but it also
Yeah.
dies down a lot faster as well.
Yeah.
Compared to like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but
Anyway, I think this guy is so wrong.
Yeah, it's a shit take.
yeah,
That's definitely a shit take.
it is a shit take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope you realize it's a shit show.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
we
place
probably-
to
I think
probably
we wrap it up, yeah.
Yeah.